Hello and welcome to the Book Creator tutorial. So to get started today, the first thing you want to do is type Book Creator into your browser. This should be the first website that pops up. So you can just go to the sign in link here. It wants you to put your browser into full screen in order to use Book Creator. So we can go ahead and do that by clicking here. And now we're brought to the student sign in. You could bypass this page by using the link on your website tracker, but it's quite long to type in. So I would suggest using the QR code that's on the back of your website tracker. And once you're on this page, in order to use that QR code, you just hold it up to your screen, click on sign in with QR code, and then you make sure that it is held up towards the camera, and it should bring you straight into the library. So if you look at the top here, it says Division 1, Mine and the Teacher's Books. This is where everyone in the class would have their books displayed. You cannot edit a book that is not yours, but you can view it. However, you do want to focus on your own book, especially while we're in the process of creating them. You'll have time to look at everyone else's once we are finished with them. So what I have done for you is I created a nonfiction template. When I hover over this book, you'll see that there's a read icon that you can click on. However, you want to be able to make your own book. So in order to do that, click on this icon here, then go to Copy Book, select Division 1 because that's the library you want it to go to, and now you have an exact replica of the template that I created. You don't want it to be a general title because it might be hard to find your book every time you go to work on it. And then it also makes it more difficult for me to find what I'm looking for. So once you've got it copied, just double click in this area here, highlight the whole title and delete it. Then you want to name it with your topic, making sure that on each word you have a capital because this is a title. So if I was doing Chocolate Labs, I would type that in, click enter. And then the title of the book will update to my specific topic and my name will appear underneath. When I'm ready to work on the book, I can hover over top. And now that this is on my account and not someone else's, rather than a read icon, I have an edit icon. So I can click on that and start making changes. So I've already gone in and set up everything that you'll need to fill in. All you have to do is type in your information and personalize it. So you want to start on the cover page, as you can see up here. In order to adjust the text, you double click on the text box, and that will give you a spot to change it. So obviously, you don't want your book to be called title. That, by putting title there, I was just telling you what goes there. So you would double click, get to this screen here, delete the title, and then put in your specific topic and click done when you're happy with it. Same thing goes for all of the other text boxes that you'll see throughout this template. Put in your specific information and delete my notes. That's all they were, just to help you get started. Once you have all of your content put into where it needs to go, you can go back and start personalizing it a little bit. So in order to do that, you click on the tabs at the top. So this one allows you to add images, you take pictures using your camera. You could draw something directly into the book using the pen, add extra text boxes if you need to, or even record your own voice so that if someone was reading your book online, they could hear you talking about something related to your book. This is under the Media tab. If I go over to Shapes, this allows me just to do some more design details. It doesn't really affect the content, but if I wanted to have a little thinking bubble or a speech bubble coming out of an image that I included, that could be a nice touch. The More tab, you don't really need to worry about. We won't be using it for our purposes. If I click out of this tab and I go over to the next one, this is called the Inspector. So to use the Inspector well, I would suggest clicking on what you want to change. So for example, the Inspector allows us to change the font. So if I wanted to change the font of the title, I first have to click on the text box, and I only want to click on it once. If I double clicked it, it would open up for me to change, and then I couldn't actually use the Inspector tab. So I click on it once just so that it's selected. Then I go over to Inspector, and now it allows me to change both the text and the page content, which is what you saw when I first clicked on this. So the text, I can make things bigger. You often want your title to be bigger, so I'm just gonna make that quite a bit larger so you can see. And then you might want your title to be darker. You might want it to be in a certain spot on the page. So maybe I want it on the left, maybe I want it on the right, or maybe I want it in the center. So I can adjust those as well. If you wanted to change the font, you can click on this, check out all the different styles, and then pick one that you like. You just want to be sure to pick one where both the uppercase and lowercase letters are visible. Then you can go ahead and change things like the color of the font. You might want to change the background of the text box, put things into columns. This would be more of like a newspaper style, but still cool to know that it's there. You might want to add a shadow effect to your title, or so on. These ones here you can play around with. This should lock the text box into position on the page if that's something you needed to do for whatever reason. These ones would bring it back to the back or to the front, depending on what else you have on the page. So for example, if you had a picture on your cover and you wanted the title to be over top of that, you'd add the picture, click on the title text box, and then move it to the front so that it's visible in front of the picture. If I go to the page changes, just want to make sure you're clicking on the right side of your mouse. You can change the whole color of the page doing this, and you might make every page a different color. Maybe you only add color to the cover. That's totally up to you. You can also adjust the category using the categories section here. So you might make it a comic style. You might change the way the paper looks, adjust the border, pattern, or texture. There's a lot of different options you can pick from. When you're happy with it, you just click off to the side to get out of that area, and then you're good to move on. So this is just the cover page that I've shown you so far, but if you click on the arrows over here, it brings you to all the other pages. So you can go ahead and make any other changes that you need to on each page, depending on what your content is. The table of contents everyone is going to have, so you don't have to adjust that part of it, but you will have to double click on this text box to adjust your main ideas. Those would be different for everybody. I just added periods in here so that you can see the main idea would be found on page 2. It just links them together. So once you've changed these, you might need to add more or less periods to line up the page numbers nicely. And then again, you hit done when you're happy with it. If I continue on, you'll see that we have our introduction page. I put a little page number at the bottom for you. You're welcome again on every page to adjust the font, whatever you would like to do. Where I put type here, that's where you put your introduction paragraph. Page 2 is your main idea number 1, just that specific paragraph. And then the same thing continues on. The glossary is one of the other text features that we've talked about, similar to the table of contents, but the glossary has words found in your essay that other people might not know the meaning of. So if there's a certain word where you're like, oh, I had to look this up to know what it meant, that would be one that you'd want to bold font using the inspector tab elsewhere in your essay. And then people know if they don't understand that word, they can check the glossary for the meaning of it. And if you wanted to go back through your other pages, you would just scroll this way. At any point, if you want to see what your book looks like in the read view, you can click on this tab here, and this allows you to flip the pages like an actual book. If you want it to be read out loud to you, you can do that. And then there are some other tabs like this one here that shows you all of the pages in one screen. So you can also click on the page and rearrange them if you needed to. And then there are some other settings that you can look at as well. If you want to back out of this, you just go over to the back section. If I need to edit again, I can do that. And if I'm finished with my book for the day, it'll save automatically. You can just go back into the library and you should see it there. And anytime you need to make more changes, you can just go ahead and click on it. When we are finished with the books, we'll be able to view them both online, and I will be printing out a copy of everyone's book so that you're able to take it home. If you have any other questions, let me know and I will be happy to help.